Welcome back to Netball Scoop. My name's Georgia Doyle, and this week I had the pleasure of chatting to two members of the England Thorns, Jimmy Thomson-Boston and Tommy Wiseman. With the Aurora Series between the England Thorns and Australian Kelpies rapidly approaching, we discussed each of their personal journeys to elite netball, the state of men's netball in the UK, and how they balance their netball commitments with day-to-day life. Welcome back to the Netball Scoop YouTube channel and podcast. Today I'm joined by Jimmy from the England Thorns. How are you today, Jimmy?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Yes, good, thank you. Thank you so much for finding a time to catch up with us ahead of the exciting Aurora series that's coming up towards the end of May. What are you most looking forward to about the series at the moment?
Oh, there's actually so much to be looking forward to. I think one of the best things is I don't know how many people in the UK have ever seen Australia's brand netball, and the Kelpies are undoubtedly the best in the world. So one, it's going to be a massive challenge for us. It's good to see how we've progressed since the first time we played them a couple of years ago, but also just the spectacle of having the best in the world for people around the UK to come and watch. There's 3 different games to come and watch as well. So hopefully they all fall in different spots so everyone can come see them live.
Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to tuning in from over this way. The hours will probably not the kindest to us, but to see those fierce battles out on court. So I reckon let's get a bit of a history of you and your sort of netball journey. What was your path sort of finding your way to netball to where you are now?
Well, I don't know if the accent's still there, present enough, but I'm originally Australian. I know some of the words are going to sound English because I've been here for a couple of years now, more than a couple. But I was from Perth. I grew up in Perth, and I used to play basketball in Perth for the SBL State Basketball League. And then at one point, I had to step away from that because of work. And it was hard to still train at night and do the job I do, which I still do over here. And then to just keep my fitness up, my friend was like, "Oh, you should come play mixed netball. Come give mixed netball a go." There is similarities to basketball, but there's a lot of differences, so you're going to have to learn quite quickly. And in that time that I was learning, one of the ex-Kelpies goal shooters, Jerome Gilbard, he was umpiring, and he just went, "I think there's something there. It's very, very, very raw.
But
um,
there's something.
there's something we could work with. We're missing a wing defense for the upcoming nationals.
Hmm.
Do you want to come play for WA? You've basically got, I think it was about 6 weeks. It's going to be a baptism of fire."
Yeah.
And yeah, we made it all the way to the grand final that year. And so from there, I was lucky enough to make sort of the Australian team, when they sort of select the long squads for the Australian team, which was a bit of like I mean, I think it's been a tiny fluke, but that's okay.
Take it, take it.
We'll take it. I'll take it. It's on the CV. And yeah, from there, sort of, I realized I just loved the sport, and I did another 2 years sort of playing in that environment with West Coast Thunder.
Mhm.
And then in the back of my mind, there was always this option to move to the UK, to England, just to, do probably the very Australian thing of just going to London.
Yeah.
Um, and then things kind of changed. So I moved to London to think I was going to work here. But for my industry, the only real jobs were up in the northeast, which is in Newcastle, Geordie Shore, oi oi.
Yeah.
Um, and was sort of netball sort of fell off for a bit there. And I was just playing for, very social netball, mixed netball on a Sunday. It was just, all about being there and experiencing it and having fun. And the community up there was wicked. And then got moved back to London for my job. And that's where it started to really pick up over here. I'm not sure how many people sort of know the progression of netball for men over in the UK. But there was sort of like maybe 10 years ago, there was a very strong group of, I think, probably about 7 to 10 men who were great. They were sort of the initial England men's. But there was just not enough widespread knowledge of the sport for it to ever progress further than just like a very talented one team.
Mm.
And as they sort of, decided they wanted to do other stuff or, change sort of pivots in their lives, that sort of disbanded and it just went a bit stagnant.
Hmm.
And then Ryan Allen, formed EMNA, which is our new association. I say new, it's about 5 years.
Yeah.
Uh, but then if you look at that in terms of loads of other countries who play netball, 5 years is a drop in the water. Um,
Absolutely.
just sort of the pathways that other people have got. So, yeah, it's been about 5 years, and we've been building since then. Our first ever series was Australia, which was great, and we've
Welcome.
I know, yeah. Well, it was. Look, it was a long 60 minutes, that game, I'll tell you that, especially in centre, which is I traditionally
Yeah.
was a wing GD. I don't know if you've watched the match back. I did a lot of running from circle edge to circle
So just
edge.
back and back and back and
Yeah,
back.
exactly that. But it gave us a great understanding of where we sit internationally.
Hmm.
And realistically, if you look back on that, we had formed England Netball 6 months beforehand and then had just gone, anyway, here's the best in the world in Sydney. So good luck.
Have a
Uh,
crack. See how
have
you
a
go.
crack. Yeah. And since then, we've had some great tussles with other teams. Jamaica have come over for a home series. We've just recently gone to St. Kitts for the America series. And we just continue to grow as a Thorns team and then as an association overall.
Yeah, you talk a bit about how initially, sort of that 10 years ago, it was just that sort of core group. So, is there any sort of, if it wasn't around then, is there anything around now of sort of like a nationals equivalent, like county type stuff over there? Is that sort of pathway starting to build up a little bit in the UK now?
Yeah, definitely. There's like so the men's and mixed clubs have all really it's just gone bang. Like I think as more people realize, as more men realize that they could play, the more females who are friends with their men are like, well, I love
Oh.
netball. I play too. So clubs have gone from we had pockets of men's clubs 6 years ago, 7 years ago, probably now.
Mhm.
And then from then but we managed to form the mixed alongside them, and now there's a nationals every single year in August, right in the centre of in the UK, Loughborough, which is one of the
Mhm.
famous sporting universities, Loughborough Lightning,
Yep.
famously Loughborough, and yeah, every single year it's just growing and growing and growing in terms of the amount of teams who are coming down, the level of competition when you get down to the finals. Um, Still a ways to go, but 5 years is 5 years, and
Yeah.
and it's all about just for us. It's definitely about the exposure in the UK, letting people know that there is men's
Mm.
netball and there is mixed netball, and what is being produced there is high level netball. So you should be getting yourselves down there, seeing if you want to play the sport first before making any snap judgments around who should be playing it.
Definitely. I think we're seeing that globally. And I think, as you've said, sort of Australia and even New Zealand are probably a little bit ahead in that mark, but it's nice to see that other countries are coming along. And I think even netball in general, as we know, for so long it was Australia and New Zealand were sort of leading the way in that. England have now caught up. South Africa are on their way. Jamaica are well and truly up with us. So it's really nice to see that not only are the women's sports in those countries growing, but the men's and the mixed game is able to grow alongside them, which I think is really good to see because, as you've said, it shows that people don't need to make those snap judgments about the sort of people that are involved in netball. Anybody can come along and have a good time, enjoy the sport, whether that be at the highest level that you guys are playing at, or just like you said, that more sort of casual Sunday afternoon where maybe the beers after the game are the more important part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've talked a little bit there about that sort of nationals that you've got at Loughborough Lightning, obviously one of the very well-known, successful NSL teams. Is there much opportunity for you men's players over there to sort of be involved in the NSL teams? You're seeing over here a lot of SSN clubs are having male training partners as part of their team. Do you guys get much of a chance to line up alongside them, even just in a sort of informal training capacity?
Yeah, so I'm London Pulse's training partner. So we do have, I think most of our Thorns squad, definitely, I would say the people who are going to be there for the Aurora series. I think most of us have aligned ourselves somewhere along with clubs. So Manchester Thunder, who, again, another very strong NSL club. They actually now have absorbed one of our Manchester men's and mixed teams. So now they're Manchester Thunder men's and mixed.
Yeah.
I think we've got two of our shooters in that setup. We've got three boys down at Pulse. I think Nottingham Forest, who obviously Chelsea Pittman is now, and I'm quite good friends with Chelsea, which is nice, and
Yeah.
she's always been very supportive of the men's game. So I think she sees the merit in having some male training partners in and amongst the pathways from those individual clubs. So there's never been any sort of stigma when it comes to like men's joining these environments. And in fact, I mean, Sam Bird, who is London Pulse, she was realistically the first to champion it. I've been with them for I think about 5 years since the start of lockdown. We were their training partners, and it just makes such a difference. One, knowing you're included in that environment and that your skills and your thoughts on the game are valid, but also just being in that environment. Like I get to train against Fumi Fudoju. Do you know what I mean? Like that's like
Doesn't get
my
much
that's
better than that.
I know it's insane. And then like if you're playing mid court and you've got Fumi in front of you and you're like, okay, if Fumi's going to get this ball, I think maybe men were going to get this ball as well. So like let's
Yeah.
just not get that pass ever again. So it's just wicked.
Yeah, it's awesome that we're seeing that, yeah, all those men are starting to get not only sort of there as the token bloke in the environment, but they're being fully included not only in the training, but also their thoughts and that
Mm.
training stuff like you've mentioned. And I think, as you've said, being from WA, Jerome Gilbard that you mentioned earlier, he's sort of one that everybody talks about as being a real sort of, yeah, spearhead of the men's game. And then we've got over in Perth at the moment, obviously, Dan Ryan, the only male head coach in the SSN at the moment. So WA certainly seems like the sort of hot spot for a lot of the men's netballers that come out. So it's great to see that that's sort of expanding across the globe and having an effect out there as well.
Well, I appreciate you putting my name next to those two. They're actual legends. Like I actually know Jerome, and Dan's been very helpful on, um, my netball journey as well because he was obviously over here.
Mm.
At points he was with Northern Ireland, and then he was with Rhinos and stuff. But he's always just checked in, and it's always really helpful having someone just go, maybe you should get to Circle Edge a little bit more. And I'm like, well, if Dan's telling me I need to do this, then it's time to drive a bit harder.
Probably some good advice if an SSN premiership winning coach is telling you to do it. It's probably good advice to take on
Yeah, yeah,
board.
I'll take it next time.
So you said you didn't sort of grow up playing a lot of netball. It was more sort of later on in life that you took it up. Since you have gotten involved in it a little bit more, are there any players that you've sort of tried to model your game on or sort of try and take pieces out to construct who you are out on court?
Well, I've had like such a checkered journey of where my
Mm.
bit is, to be honest, because I like was very staunchly like a wing defense, and they were like, "Look, we want you to just be." This was when I was playing for WA. They were like, "We really want you to be like so dogged, stay on the body." And then I was floating back into GD because I enjoyed playing GD and I liked being in the circle, and you got to have more fun, and you
Yeah.
didn't have to stop at the circle edge. But then when we started doing the England setup, my coach, Sharon just went, I think, one, when we're going to start playing internationally, you're going to be too small for the circle. Just stung a tiny bit. I swear I was doing all my jump exercises. But she was like, we're going to move you forward into center. And from there, I would say Serena Guthrie was sort of, I know it's, England and England, but someone who is such a strong defensive player, then stepping up into that center and having to like widen the vision, I was like, okay, what can I do to sort of emulate her her calmness? And but yet still having that sort of very strong, tight wing defense style defense through court wearing the center bib.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that, yeah, Guthrie, and then I think Laura Langman's another one that pops out for that sort of traditionally a wing defense. But then I think when you saw them both in their sort of their peak of their career, I guess, they shifted into centre. And we're seeing so much more these days that you need to have such strong defense to win games that the
Yeah.
majority of centre players these days come from that wing defense background rather than your wing attack background, just because defense is so important. And as you've said, that real dogged body man on his very signature of especially that England and that Australian style of play. So yeah,
Mm.
not surprising that that's the sort of player that, yeah, you sort of try and start leaning towards. And I mean, who wouldn't want to play like Serena
Yeah.
Guthrie? I think that's everybody's
And
life goal is to play
yeah.
like that.
But, I mean, that's it. And then obviously there's Allison, who we've
Mm.
sort of traditionally matched up against each other, and she is again just so good on circle edge. If I can get anywhere, if my back and ups can be like half as good as what she can do through the mid court, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's a good day at the office if you can pull off one of those circle edge volleys.
Yeah,
Definitely, the wing defense's dream, I reckon, is a good one of those every game, and the coach has
yeah,
got to be pretty happy with what you've done.
yeah, yeah.
Men's netball is still in that very much sort of amateur phase at the professional level. So you're all balancing jobs and commitments, study outside of that. How do you personally go about making sure you've got that balance between that commitment to the Thorns program, but also your regular day-to-day job?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think it's one of those things that you just have to, one, really focus on straight away and understand that you're giving up your time for two very important things. One's obviously your work life that's going to pay the bills, and one is something that you really want to achieve in your own personal life. And I mean, it is something that you see probably in all netball communities, all the way up to the fully professionals, where there's been times where people have had to have full-time jobs and still get themselves to training 3 or 4 times a week alongside games. I think for me, netball is such a like positive relief. I know everyone always says like, best thing to do when you're struggling a bit is to go and play some sport. And that is so true for netball for me. I just can go and clear my head. Twice a week, whether it be London Pulse or going to do Thorns training on a weekend where I do just switch off from my work, which can be um, uh, it's a very high pace, fast pace. That's the word, fast paced environment. So to be able to just go and just like have something to focus on, I always feel at the end of it, I've really cleared my head for everything else around me. So um, I think it is a big sacrifice, especially as you sort of get to the point in your life where other people are saying like, "Why are you doing this if you're not getting paid?" And I think a lot of our Thorns boys are given that question quite a lot
Mm.
if the people don't really understand netball or don't understand what we're trying to achieve. But we are trying to achieve a bit more of a legacy, and it's not a legacy about Thorns. It's more of a legacy that men's netball in the UK has a place alongside all the other sports here. So we're going to have to sacrifice a little bit for it to stay top of mind for everyone around the UK. And personally, I'm happy to do that.
I think that's certainly something that, yeah, we've noticed. Netballers for a long time have always been underappreciated as sports people. Started off being the women. They're now starting to get their flowers, I guess, in terms of, especially over here in Australia with the money they're earning, and the NSL is slowly on the way. But there's still, still so much work to be done. As you've said, it's not about doing the work for yourself to benefit from. It's about doing the work so that then future generations and future teams can benefit from it, which I think is something that you get a lot more in netball than you probably do in other sports. People are happy to do the work knowing that they're not necessarily going to benefit from it, but they're okay with that because they know they're setting up the future for the players and the teams that come after them, which I think is something that's really special about netball, because I don't think a lot of other sports would be willing to be that sort of selfless, and not
Hmm.
benefit from that sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for having a chat to me. Best of luck for the series, and yeah, can't wait to see you running around keeping up with Liam and Riley in that mid court. No doubt you'll be working very hard to keep up with them, but it'll be
Yeah.
a very good game to watch.
I'm gonna hold on to those well wishes, Georgia. I really appreciate it. Thank you for spending the time.
I'm joined by Tommy from the England Thorns. How are you today, Tommy?
I'm really good, thank you. Yes, enjoying my time here. 8:30 or 9 o'clock for me, so yeah, a little bit earlier than how it is for you. But yeah, having a great time, thank you.
Excellent. So obviously we've got the Aurora Series coming up in just a couple of weeks, which is going to be very excited for men's netball, particularly over in the UK. What was your sort of journey, I guess, in terms of coming to being an elite male netballer?
So I've grew up with a family of like women. So my mum is like a single parent family of like 5 kids, three older sisters, one brother, and I'm the baby of the family. So I've had like all these people watching, doing different sports and stuff. And one of my sisters, Gemma, she used to play, well, she played for England netball all the way through her like career almost. So she's got photos, which is really quite funny actually, of her playing against like Laura Langman when she went to Australia and New Zealand for a tour when she was younger. And then she then went on to play for Saracens Mavericks back then, Loughborough Lightning, and then other clubs basically. And I was always just her like number one biggest fan. So I was always just traveling everywhere, always watching her, like having like the best time in the world and thinking, oh, I really wish I could play this.
Mm.
But I played basketball and football instead growing up. And that was great. And I loved them two sports. Obviously, as a PE teacher, I kind of like love all sports in general. But yeah, then this opportunity come back and I saw more male netball probably about 4 years ago now.
Mhm.
So I emailed both Knights and Giants, which are the two predominantly like male netball teams in London. I emailed both, and it just so happened that Giants emailed me back first. And yeah, so I went to one of the training sessions and I loved it. Obviously, I know netball and I love netball and I love watching netball. That's kind of what I really enjoyed like watching, but I never had the opportunity to play it. So it was really, really good to get involved. And then from there, we had our first England Thorns trial. Got into that probably about 3 years ago now. And then ever since then, the program's grown and grown and evolved. And hopefully we've grown with it, which has been really good. And it's now been taken more seriously. So now I train with London Mavericks every week as part of one of their training programs, which is brilliant and such a full circle because obviously my sister used to play for that
Yeah.
team, used to watch that team. Like growing up, I used to be there all the time, every weekend watching them. And now I'm like one of their training partners, which is like insane. And obviously such a like great thing for me, but also, yeah, I really enjoy being involved in that sort of environment. And yeah, led to where we are now, really. Like the program is much more developed, which is brilliant, and more competitive now, which is also good. And male netball is getting more and more pushed through. So, for example, next weekend we've got a match, and it's not an England match, it's just two club teams playing before the Manchester Thunder game at the Liverpool M&S Arena, which is brilliant. So like we are then being involved in more of them sort of games too. So yeah. And now yeah, here I am, which is great.
Yeah, I think that's quite a common story for a lot of the male netballers that pick up the sport is they've had a family involvement in some way and they've unfortunately for some period been sort of shoved off to the sidelines or, had to been able to play when they were a kid, but then had to sort of get booted off the team once they got that bit older. But it's nice to see that, yeah, netball for boys and men is becoming a lot more of a sort of structured pathway these days. Like you said, and you're
Yeah.
not having to sort of dip out of playing when you're 12 and then maybe you just pick it up socially when you're a bit older. It's something that you can go all the way through, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, I did I remember when I was like year 11 or year 10 doing one like mixed netball tournament with like the girls there and that being like, oh, this is great. Like, why can't I do more of this? And then obviously it wasn't really a thing then. Like it wasn't actually a thing that people did. And now it's great that actually like young boys, like I teach PE, obviously. And now we teach like boys netball in the curriculum. And it's great because now boys are doing netball in year 7, year 8 and year 9, which is like 12, 13 and 14 in their school. And like when I was a kid, that was never a thing. Like it was always rugby, football, basketball, never netball. So it's really good to like have that involvement too, which is quality.
Yeah, how do you find that reception of those sort of young kids of sort of having netball as part of their sort of school curriculum? Because it has traditionally been always considered that sort of more female sport. So how do they take it as now just being part of the standard curriculum?
Uh, it's really interesting. So like the year sevens are like love it. They played like high five. I don't know if that's a thing in Australia.
We've
So
got a
this it's
similar version. We've
yeah, it's
got
like
ours is called Net Set Go. Basically
yeah.
like introductory netball stuff.
So they do that basically, and like then their skills are kind of like move forwards from that point. So the year sevens are like they're very like they'll do whatever. They're happy to play all different sports. They're competitive. They enjoy it because it is a fun sport. You can make like the fun games that I do before as well, like the reaction time games and stuff like that. They really enjoy it, which is good. And then the year eights and the year nines in particular, that was probably more of a hard win. Like they're obviously be like, oh, netball's a girls' sport, netball's a girls' sport. And obviously there I'm like, hello, it's not a
Yeah.
girls' sport. I play it. Like I really don't think it is a girls' sport. It's a sport for everyone. So yeah, they kind of look at it like that. But actually it's kind of changed now, like their reception to it. Because obviously I'm doing it and it's like, well, if you are able to do it, they still have that idea of like, oh, boys netball back. Some people do, but actually the reception is changing, which is good. Um, so it's that is really positive. So the year sevens are great. When they get to the older years, I even did my year tens to be fair, and they're like, "Oh, you play boys netball?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do," and I kind of own anything anyway. Like obviously, I do like the TikToks, and if you own that, they don't really care as much. So if you own the boys netball, they obviously don't care. So the reception's been positive, to be fair, which is good. But obviously growing more. Like I'm looking forward to next year doing a boys netball team because we haven't done an actual school club. So that'd be really good to get involved and actually do that outside of the curriculum in extracurricular too. So yeah.
No, it's always good when you're starting to, yeah, expand it to more sort of people. And as you said, if it's something that you're owning and that you're proud about and sharing with everybody, then it just rubs off as it's a totally normal thing to do, which it is. And it's not something that you need to sort of hide away in the corner and sort of be a bit nervous about sharing. So,
100% agree. Yeah, if you're not hiding away from it and like you're owning it, then everyone's like, oh, okay, let's do it then.
yeah, exactly. So you talked about being involved with the London Mavericks as a training partner at the moment. How was it that that came about, and what's your sort of weekly schedule, I guess, look like being involved with them?
Yeah, it's really interesting to be fair. So, when did it start? Probably about it was 3 years ago now. I used to work with one of the assistant coaches as a PE teacher as well, and
Mm.
then they used to kind of invite us in probably every month. It wasn't as regular prior to that. And then since that 3 years ago, they was like, "Oh, we need extra numbers, basically. Can you come tonight?" I was like, "Yeah, that's fine. I've got my netball stuff in my car. We'll do that." And then from then onwards, it's been a regular thing. So obviously now it's changed and they do train. So that was 3 years ago. So 3 years ago they used to train in the evenings because it wasn't as professional as it is now. So they did Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I would always go Tuesdays and Thursdays, which was great. And being involved in that was obviously amazing. So thank you to Becky Trippick to get me involved. Big shout out. And then from then onwards, I've been involved with all the training sessions that I can go to. So in particular now this season, because a lot of their sessions are in the day, I do a Tuesday evening session with them, and which is brilliant because they kind of see me as part of like their almost training squad, which is good. So I am involved in, we watch the video analysis, which is brilliant. They talk about their game plans and stuff, which is amazing. They have that full trust, and I have that full trust with them, which is really good too. So that's been great. So almost like my weekly schedule. I coach as well, so also a big shout out to my sister who also gets me involved in the coaching as well. So I do like my own master classes. I coach for London Mavericks as well as part of their futures. So the Monday I do the coaching. The Tuesday I'll train. The Wednesday I will train with my team, London Giants. And then on a Thursday and the Friday, that'll be like my own gym sessions, normally like an S&C class and then a mobility class. And then at the moment, it's like Saturday and Sunday. We're looking at at least one camp session a week. So then the England Thorns will then have a camp session on the Saturday or the Sunday, preparing for the Australia Test series. So yeah, so quite a busy, packed week on top of also my teaching life. So I always say it's like one of the most expensive hobbies in the world, which it is. But yeah, I love it, and I wouldn't change it for any other way.
Yeah, certainly sounds like you've got netball coming out your ears at this rate with all the stuff that you're involved with. But I feel like that's the sort of thing when you're so passionate about it and you love it, you find yourself getting involved in every single facet of it, which just helps to sort of expand your knowledge of all the different areas that you're involved with.
Yeah, 100%. Like I genuinely, if I can't sleep, and this isn't saying netball's boring because it's not, but it's like a soothing aspect. I'll watch netball, and I'm like, oh, now I feel like calm again. I can watch it, and there's so much at the moment. We have the Super League, obviously, the Suncorp going on, so it's great. So I watch that all the time, which is brilliant.
Yeah, I'll often talk about I've got a few like comfort games that I'll call like an emotional support game that I'll go back
Yeah,
and watch if I'm feeling a bit crook but yeah, I've certainly got a few matches that I've probably watched 10 or so times because I know that my team's won, so I can just go back and watch it and
yeah,
get it and sort of like instead of having a comfort TV show, I've got a comfort netball game to watch.
yeah, exactly.
Talked about your involvement with the London Giants before, and then you mentioned, I think, the Knights as well as one of the local men's netball teams. What's the sort of, I guess, more club space of netball like for men's netball in the UK?
Yeah, when I went to my first nationals 3, 4 years ago, like there was only a handful of teams there. And we didn't play as many matches because we didn't have to because there wasn't as many teams. And then cut to last year at nationals, there were so many teams there. Like it was almost like a netball festival. It was crazy. It's like been developing and developing and developing. And I kind of like the number, Ryan will know, but it's so much compared to what it was before. So you can even tell that by the nationals that we go to, but also the league games. We're entered into a league now for the South and the North. And the amount of games that we're playing compared to it was prior, we didn't even have the chance to play a league because there wasn't as many like male netball teams there. Now we have a league and we're actually able to play like 6, 7, 8 games of these in our South Division. And then you have the North Division as well, which is brilliant. So then you're playing these games. So yeah, like the growth has been crazy to be fair, which is so good because then the game gets more competitive because sometimes it does get to the point where prior to that it wasn't exactly the most competitive, and actually the rivalry was probably about three teams in England like us, Knights, London Giants, London Knights, and then also now they're called Manchester Thunder men's netball as well. So that was only the three teams that you would say, oh, they're the competitive. Actually, now we've got a lot more teams going on. So they've got the Mavericks. They've also got Thameside Mavericks, that is, sorry. The Army Netball, they're quite a competitive team as well. And there's just loads of teams now, which is brilliant. And actually, people don't have to travel as far, which is great. So then if people don't have to travel as far, then actually more people are willing to get involved, which is really, really good. So yeah, it's been really good, the rise.
Yeah, and it's more accessible, like you said, if people aren't having to travel, an hour or so to get to a game or to get to a training, then it's so much easier for more people to get involved. And I know that's one thing that Jimmy said when I was chatting to him as well, was that seeing the growth of it over the last few years in particular has been really nice. And it's more enjoyable when it's competitive when you're playing as well. It's no point going out and only playing, a few games or absolutely hammering everybody or absolutely getting hammered yourself. It's much nicer when you're actually going out there and being able to play a hard fought game.
Yeah, and you don't learn anything either. Like the
Mm.
things that you learn are always from the hard games and the actual games that are competitive. Um, so yeah, that competitiveness with other teams, which is great. So it's not just like the London rivalry now of us and Knights. It's actually like, there is other teams and yeah, it's going to be competitive. And actually that is good for netball. It's not just because it's bad doesn't mean it's like uh, just because it's like not competitive as it was, like it's still a good thing. So yeah.
And so you said you came from sort of a more of a basketball or football or soccer, as we'd call it over here, background. What sort of involvement did you have in those sports early on? Were you sort of doing that at quite a high level, or was that more just sort of social community stuff, and then it was really the netball stuff that picked it up to that higher level?
Yeah, so I played football, from a young kid, and I was always that classic kid. My mum said that this was when I was younger, making daisy chains, and I quote, doing handstands, and that was like kind of what I was doing. And mum was like, "I mean, you sure you want to do netball?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, sorry, you want to do football, sorry." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I love football. I really enjoy it. Obviously, when my friends were there and stuff, so I had a great time." But I'd always, like my hand-eye coordination is obviously pretty good in that aspect. So I'd liked football, and then I got to secondary school in year seven, and then obviously found this sport called basketball, and I loved basketball. So I played basketball while also doing soccer slash football all the way up through when until I was year 11. With my football, I played like EGA level, which is like Eastern Junior Alliance, which is like almost so you have like academies, then you have the people under the academies, then you have like EGA, which is like people who aren't in academies but also still playing at a good level. So I played that, which was almost like semi-pro for young kids. That's kind of what you would explain it as. So I played that until I was about 18, while also then picked up basketball from when I was year seven, played that, and then year 10, I went to like county trials, and then got into my county for basketball as well. So I played basketball county level and then also like EJ for football too. So I played them at quite high levels and then went to Loughborough University to do my sports science degree and then played Loughborough for the second and third team of basketball there. But obviously basketball in, Loughborough and sport in general at Loughborough,
Mm.
you're lucky to get into like any team there. So I was really, really happy about that, which is brilliant. And then yeah, played basketball there, played a few games of netball. But yeah, my basketball kind of career almost stopped as my netball career kind of started because it was hard to keep up both at the same time. And actually, like I got really nervous when I used to play basketball and football, to the point I was like, oh, I'm nervous for this game. But actually, I've never had that feeling when I play netball, which is weird,
Mm.
really weird. So I get nervous, but it's a nervous enjoyment. Like I'm not scared to play it. Do you know what I mean? So
Mm.
yeah, it's really interesting. But obviously, played them sports at a good level, and then when I started to play netball, I was like, oh, this is where I belong. So yeah.
Now, always nice when you can find that sports that's just that perfect fit for you. I always think that, and you probably see this as a PE teacher as well, there's a sport or type of physical activity out there for everybody. You've just got to find what it is that suits you, whether that be a team sport, an individual sport, something more creative like dance or just gym stuff. There's something out there for everyone. And when you find your niche, then it's really good to sort of find that spot that you really fit in.
100%. Like a lot of my friends, like they didn't like PE at school because obviously they didn't have the right fit or PE teachers and stuff like that, which is sad. But now they've found sport and like love going to the gym, enjoy doing that fitness aspect. And it's good when you see people enjoying sport and like physical activity, there's nothing better than how physical activity and like getting your body moving makes you feel. So there's no better feeling than that. So yeah, it's great to see everyone trying to find that for them, which is good.
Definitely. Now, you talked a bit earlier about your sister and how she was quite high up in the netball ranks over in the UK, so you followed it a fair bit when you were younger as a result of her. Now that you're playing at the high level as well, are there any players that you sort of try and model your game on that you either really looked up to for their style of play when you were younger or even now?
Yeah, so like in the obviously Helen Hasby is like the classic. I'm a wing attack. I'm a wing attack goal attack, which we're a dying breed. There's not many wing attack goal attacks nowadays. There used to be a lot more like Nat Haythornthwaite. Obviously, she was like a big person that I used to look up to loads. Um, and obviously, like I do genuinely, and I try not to, but I play how my sister used to play. Like I'm a classic goal attack and the fact that I'll always run the front. I'm almost like an offside wing attack. Like I like to have the ball. So any players that like to have the ball and be involved in that. I'm trying to think of in particular players. Who I love in Australia, and I'm like the biggest fan of. It's like Sophie Garbin. I don't play
Yeah.
like her at all. But I think she's so great, and I'm like, oh yes, she's the best. Like she's amazing. So that's one player that I genuinely love watching. Her and Kira Austin. I think their connection is great. Kira Austin as well as a goal attack is someone that I also look up to because she's not your classic goal attack in her movement sometimes, but actually, her athleticism and the way she gets there is really, really good. That's someone I look up to too. I'm trying to think in the England English league as well. Whoever, obviously Joe Hart, I mean, you can't. There's no better shooter than Joe Hart, but
Mm.
she has been absolutely incredible. But yeah, the one that I would definitely say that I look up to the most is defo Helen Hasby. She is the clutch performer.
Mm.
Every single opportunity, everyone looks for her if they need that pickup and boost and stuff. So yeah, Helen Hasby, the way she plays as a goal attack, the way she wants the ball, her error rate is so low. Feeds, drives, so hard, so quick. So yeah, definitely Helen Hasby, I'd say.
Yeah, I reckon if you had to pick a player to take a long range shot and your life was on the line, she'd be one of the ones at the top of the
100%.
list that you'd back
Yeah.
in to save you if you had to do something like that. So I
Yes.
definitely reckon she's a winner on that front for sure.
So yeah, I've never thought of it like that. If someone said, right, your life's on the line, who you choose? I'd be like, yeah, defo Helen Hasby for
Yeah.
sure.
Thanks so much for your time today, Tommy. It was really great to get a bit of an insight into not only your journey to where you are now with the Thorns, but also just the state of men's netball in the UK. Best of luck for the upcoming series and looking forward to seeing you running around on court up against those Kelpies.